Welcome back to the Buffalo Bills Cast podcast. I'm your host Caleb. This is my co-host Alex.
What's up,
We
guys?
have we have a lot to touch on today. A lot. Let's start off with the big news of the day. Khalil Shakir has been extended with the Buffalo Bills, 4 years, 60.2 million and $32 million guaranteed. That first year of his contract is going to be worth $18 million, and it's up to 60.2 million, which I think is some interesting grammar added to that extension. Personal thoughts, what a deal. Because if we really just look at the bones of this, $60 million at the top, the first year, $18 million. Those last three are going to be 14 million AV at most, because the deal is at most $60 million. So I think it's going to end up being more like 12 million a year. Excuse my cat. You should definitely come here. um, but yeah, 12 million to 14 for Khalil Shakir, one of the best wide receivers in football, specifically in the slot. I think there's more to unlock down the field. I don't know about you, if you think you see more down the field with him as well.
I
But
mean, you can bring up that Jets 80-yard bomb from not this past year, but the year before. So yeah, no plays like that and the seam where he can kind of then beat out a safety, where he splits the linebacker and safety, then beats a safety for a big play. I could definitely see more of that.
yeah, absolutely. And I still just think there's another level of cohesion him and Josh can hit, because a lot of those short passes that they hit on, and obviously he has a wonderful yak ability. It's fine, but I think there's some more middle of the field, down the field stuff that they can unlock. So I'm very excited. How about you? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely ecstatic. I was kind of like Woj for a second when I dropped this news when I was on the talking on the radio with my friends earlier, and I was just scrolling through Instagram, whatever, because I was doing it through the phone, and I just see Buffalo Fanatics post Khalil Shakir extension. I'm just like mind blown. I'm like, well, this is some news for today. And then I actually broke the news to you. I texted it to you.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, we're gonna talk about it today. You're like, wait, what extension? And I'm like, yeah.
I was in
He
class.
just
Yeah,
said, yeah. I mean, I kind of figured when you did it. Now I'm like, oh, he's probably just in class and didn't see it. But yeah, I'm like, oh my god, what a deal. Once I saw him, like 4 years, 60. I'm like, we have him locked up long term and only 15 AAV, as he's basically getting paid wide receiver two money, and he's right now the best wide receiver on our team, the most valuable wide receiver on our team, the most reliable wide receiver on our team. I don't think he's ever going to be this Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Don't get me wrong. Maybe he could sneak in a Pro Bowl in his best season, but he'll never be like an All Pro or anything. But I don't really need that out of him. We have this offense where it's kind of just everyone do their job, everyone eat. And if everyone does their job, we can, with an elite quarterback like that, a bunch of good talent across the board, that's how we're going to be a very good offense. And it showed this past year that it worked with him doing his job as being that super reliable slot guy. He's kind of like the glue guy, the most versatile wide receiver. He's the only one that can play the X, the Y, and the slot. He gives
what do you think
he
his
get
peak is though? Like, what role do you think his peak is, and what do those numbers look like? Because, like you said, he could play slot, X, Y.
I think
What?
his peak is 100 catches, about 1100 yards, and like 5 or 6 touchdowns while being the best yak guy in football. Um, I think that's kind of his peak where he's a slot guy. I think he's definitely best in the slot, but he can play outside. He because of how good of a route runner and how good his hands are. I think he can definitely do that. I don't. We have outside guys. So we don't need it that often, but it definitely helps. It opens things up. We can call more different things. Um, yeah, I think him and Josh need to get more chemistry with like screens and stuff like that. But overall, I think it's a
100%.
great. Yeah, I think that's really the only knock. So I really love this extension for them.
Yeah. Speaking of extensions, we have some guys that we both think should get extended, or at least on our minds. Who's your first guy?
Mine is Christian Benford. I think watching that Chiefs game, it's pretty clear that he needs to be brought back at all costs. Bring him back now. He's been great since we drafted him, but he's only had one truly elite season. And he's still very young, so extend him now before he continues to have more and his market goes up. I haven't heard much about rumors like what he wants or anything. Really, the only guy they've kind of talked about is Cook, but we'll get into that. Um, anyways, I get the concussion concerns, but outside of him, especially Rasul Douglas is old and a free agent, and the rest of the cornerback room, boundary corners is pretty bad. So you saw in the Chiefs game how bad it was when Benford went out. I think he is arguably the most important piece on that defense currently because of what's left outside of him. I get the worriness of we did this last time with Trey White and he ended up getting a lot of injuries. We had to cut him and ended up being a bad contract, but you can't use that. That was an ACL and an Achilles. Those aren't predictable injuries. It's not like was a bunch of
Not at all.
it was
Yeah.
hamstring injuries that are more predictable. Soft tissue injuries are predictable. Ligament tears are not, for the most part.
Yeah.
So I think Benford is number one.
My guy right now outside of Benford, because at least there's a mutual understanding between me and Alex that Christian Benford level corners are the hardest thing to find out of any of the guys that need extended. I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I would say so.
Guys are sticky in man coverage. You can also play a high level zone, great feel, and really good run defender for his position.
Yes, extremely underrated.
My next guy, at least, is Terrell Bernard. He's a captain of the team. I understand it's the same thing. He, though, has some more I wouldn't even say soft tissue injuries. He just has a lot of injuries. That's kind of what it's been with him. But he plays. He plays through the injuries. And like I said, he's the captain of the football team. He's a leader in the locker room. He is an absolute ball hawk. Great in the run game when guys aren't all getting to the second level. I like to clarify that. Sometimes I see some slander on the linebackers about the run defense. If your defensive line holds up even half as good as they should, there should not be multiple offensive linemen in the second level. So I think that's important with him as well. So getting a better defensive line. We'll get into that. But Bernard, I think, is the key cog to this defense that makes everything run. The communicator, he's the quarterback of the defense. I think he's a main priority. And also, I don't think the price will be that bad. I see him taking a team-friendly deal just like Shakir did. And I think injuries for both Benford and Bernard should make them quite cheaper than what they should be, especially if you extend them right now in the next 13 days.
Yeah, that's fair. But before free agency kind of raises the market.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who's your next guy?
No one's really talked about it much, but I've seen some reports the Bills are really want to bring him back. He's kind of, when we first signed him in free agency, I wasn't the biggest fan of the deal. I'm like, it's pretty mid. We're giving him $8 million a year, and that would be Connor McGovern. But he has proven me wrong. He has been an absolute stud. He can play guard. He can play center, which is extremely versatile because he played guard his first year, and then we cut Morse, and we're like, who's going to play center? I guess let's try McGovern. He came in and was great, and now it's like, do we want to keep him at guard or do we want to keep him at center? Or do you want to move him back to guard and put Van Pran Granger? Do we want to put David Edwards still in there? There's a couple of things we can do where we're set in stone. It's kind of just the best guys. Whoever's better between David Edwards and Van Pran Granger, instead of it being, we have to start one of them. That versatility is huge. So I would love to give him another 3-year extension, which then probably opens up a little bit of money for this year for re-signing / bringing in free agency guys. So I would love to get that extension done soon, kind of similar before free agency starts, because if you wait till after free agency, that's where people sign big contracts in free agency and it drives prices up. So I think we got to try and get as many extensions done before, what is the free agent day? March 14th or whatever it is.
It's 2 weeks and a day from today.
Okay. So yeah. Anyway, in 2 weeks when the new league year starts and prices skyrocket.
Yeah. My guy, I don't know how I feel. Like Greg Rousseau, I know deserves an extension. You need all the help you can have on the defensive line. My uncomfortability is what is the price for Greg Rousseau? Now I feel comfortable. I don't know about you, around 4 years, 76.
Yeah, I do that right under 20. Yeah.
Right under 20. And that's about it, though. Anything north of that, I start to feel very uncomfortable with.
I would go up to 20. I would go up to 20. I think 20 is the
20. I mean, yeah, for me, like one more.
And then, or if it's up, or if he's really wanting like 23, 24, we could do it where it's a lot of incentive based. Be like, we'll give you 19, but then you can get up to 24, 25 with incentives. Like sack incentives, or pressure rate incentives, where it's like,
I'll give playoff sack incentives.
Yeah. If he can, yes, yeah, that works. Yeah.
You get $1 million a sack in the playoffs, buddy.
You get $2 million. You get $2 million every time you sack Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Pat Mahomes.
Yeah,
in the
perfect. I
playoffs.
think that's great. I would go.
Yeah.
I'm all on board with that. Except real note, yeah, 4 years, 80. That's even a little steep for me, but I can like get on board. I guess if you structure it correctly, at least. Yeah, he's a little bit of an interesting one. Last guy, James Cook. What's the number for you? I know what my number is. We're not going to hate on James Cook, by the way. We both love James
No,
Cook.
yeah,
But
James Cook is great. I would say if you're doing 4 years 50. If you're doing 3 years, I'd be fine with the AAV being a little bit higher. I do 4 years 50 with 25 guaranteed with half guaranteed. If we're doing 3 years, I would be fine with doing 3 years like 36, 37 with also 25 guaranteed. I don't really want to give a running back more than that guaranteed just because even though he doesn't have the wear and tear and he has been pretty healthy, it's still the running back position and even the healthiest of running backs still can get bad injuries.
yeah,
So because of that, I wouldn't. The most I'd give him in a 3-year contract is like a tad bit over 12. The most I'd give him on a 4-year contract is a tad bit under 12. So I think somewhere in that range. I don't really want to give him more than that. I think that if he wants more than that, which he's asking for, I think I'd be fine with trading him or letting him walk and then drafting a guy plus
absolutely.
the duo of Ray Davis, or the trio of Ray Davis, Ty Johnson plus draft guy, I think would be just fine with how good Josh's and our offensive line is.
Yeah. Interesting stat is when you look at this draft class, if you combine James Cook's college carries and NFL carries, he sits right around where Caleb Johnson is. He has less carries than Ashton Genty, and he's around the same amount of carries. It's 13 less or 13 more than Omari and Hampton. So one thing that's interesting with James Cook is he simply doesn't have the wear and tear that most running backs do have on their contractors, and that is why I feel comfortable paying him. That being said, he's still a running back. One injury, and everything looks a lot different. I think I'm comfortable right around 3 years, 37. And now he might want 4 years, but I'd probably keep the guarantee the same as you said, like around 25 million. And I could do 4 years, like 48. And I think that's about as much as he's going to get. But 3 years, 37 is like the ideal contract in my eyes, at least. And I think that makes both parties happy for the foreseeable future. He doesn't actually think he's getting 15. Let's be
Yeah,
clear.
it's probably he's
It's
starting there.
posturing.
Yeah, exactly. If you start where you want, they're going to try and nickel you down, even though it's kind of scummy per se. It's just business. So it's not really scummy, but it's just business. If you start at the number you want, you're never going to get the number you want. Unless
Nope.
you're Josh Allen. Josh Allen, whatever number he wants, I'd give him more than that. It would be the reverse. He'd be
Double.
like, "Oh, I'll take give me a 3-year $150 extension or 170
$150.
yeah, $175 million extension. Be like, all right, just 3 years, 200 million. Sound good? Like whatever he wants, I'll just give him more. Be like, yeah, you can take it.
Take
Like
it, Josh.
Josh can do whatever he wants. I don't really care.
Yeah. Last thing on we have two more things on the agenda before the mock draft that we will be doing. Jonathan Allen, thoughts? I'm just gonna leave it at that. Floor is yours. What do you think?
I've seen people talk about this. He's 300 pounds. He's a 3-tech. He's 30. He costs 15 mil. I would not like it at all. Realistically, we'd have to Washington would probably have to take on a lot of the money for us to be able to afford him, or we'd have to move a lot of things around, which would hurt us in other areas money wise. And two, we already have Ed Oliver and Jonathan Allen at this point in his career is about equal to Ed Oliver. Yeah, he's probably better than Dwayne Carter, but we need Dwayne Carter to develop into that backup for out of Ed Oliver. And Dwayne Carter looked very good prior to injury last year. So I don't really like it at all. I think there's not really much use. Any defensive tackle under 310 pounds, I just left my mind. It means nothing to me. You mean absolutely nothing unless it was like an Aaron Donald, obviously. But Aaron Donald's actually, I don't even remember Aaron Donald's weight. But
He's about 300.
yeah, but basically any defensive tackle under 310, you're irrelevant to me.
I think John Allen's closer to that than you think.
On Google, it was saying 265, and then it said 300. So
265.
But he's still a 3-tech. He plays 3-tech in Washington because they have De'Aaron Payne as
You mean 295?
No, it was literally saying 265.
I don't know.
And then I'm like, wait, that can't be right. And then I looked and it said 300. I'm like, weird how it was saying. But anyways,
Yeah.
he's a 3 tech, and 3 techs are irrelevant to the Bills right now because they need 1 tech badly. And he doesn't play 1 tech, and he's old, expensive, can't stay healthy. I'm good.
Okay. Here is my thing with Jonathan Allen. I think there's more juice left in the tank than there was last year. I know he's expensive. I'm also not willing to give up a lot. So I guess kind of where my stance is on the whole Jonathan Allen thing is if you somehow can get him for cheap, fine. But if it's going to either cost you a lot of cap or a significant draft pick, I'm just not really interested. And
Similar to Cooper Kupp.
yeah, except I guess wide receiver Cup doesn't even really fit our need.
Yeah,
So there's
but
that.
neither does Jonathan Allen, if we're being honest.
Jonathan Allen at least has up to production as like an interior rusher, like a third defensive tackle, which you can sell me on as being important.
That's fair. That's fair.
So there's a world where I accept Jonathan Allen and I say, okay, that's fine. But for the most part, for me, it is. I think there's a team who's gonna be willing to either eat more money or give up a higher draft pick than I would be willing to. So I lean towards it's not going to happen, but at least I see why people are interested and where the interest comes from. Just not 100% my cup of tea. Let's move on to the press conference, which spoke a lot about defensive linemen, wide receiver. What was your biggest takeaway? Biggest two, let's say.
Yeah. So I'll start with the big one that everyone's been talking about is speed of the wide receiver room. So I'll talk into a different piece that I think is actually the more important piece. I think it's the young guys need to get healthier and stronger. They both Bean and McDermott are like, oh, well, these guys injuries derailed their season. In the NFL, injuries should not, like minor injuries that you can come back from. If you can play, they should not be derailing your season. So, and also, oh, these guys need to get stronger. He's not saying that he doesn't trust them to. I think he believes in his guys to develop, but I think I understand a lot more now why we we fired our strength and conditioning coach. At the time, I'm like, well, I didn't really understand it, but it makes a lot more sense now. I think there was too many guys last year that came back from injury and just weren't the same. There was too many guys that were just too weak, for being honest. 3 key guys that were kind of brought up a lot that injuries either derailed the season or they just weren't strong enough to compete were Dalton Kincaid, Cole Bishop, and Keon Coleman. And over these last 2 years, those are our 3 highest draft picks, plus Osiris Torrance. But those are our guys that we need to rely on to develop if we want this future of the team to continue to look good. These are our high draft picks. These are a lot of picks that like Bean, I guess, is kind of not hit on great in the past, where we draft high guys and a lot of them develop into decent starters. We don't get a lot of like quality Pro Bowl level guys in our first and early second rounders. So those are guys we kind of want to rely on. We want Kincaid to be our tight end in the future. We want Keon to be a starting wide receiver in the future. Cole Bishop to be a safety of the future. So we need these guys to get stronger and healthier. And I think that's the big key. Yeah. And then obviously the one everyone's talking about, the speed to the wide receiver room. I think that we're adding a receiver either through free agency or the draft that can stretch the field. It was an obvious need, and then both bringing it up makes it even more and more obvious that it's going to happen.
Let me just say for the wide receiver thing, I'm going to touch on that briefly as my little press conference takeaway because you kind of hit the nail on the head with the strength and conditioning. Very simple. Young guys get stronger. Injuries can't derail your season. I don't love the free agent wide receiver class. I know you love Marquise Brown.
I wouldn't say I love it. I'd say I like it. Depending on, I wouldn't say, oh, pay whatever it takes to get Marquise Brown. But there's a world where it's like, all right, 1 year, $8 million. I'm like, I can get behind that.
Yeah, my only thing is I think that your assets in free agency should go towards defense. This is a team and a front office and a coaching staff that they stated multiple times today that you have to win the job and yesterday. It's not about how old you are, but it tends to happen that vets win jobs. Just how it is, how it's always been, how it always will be in Buffalo. And I think that money and a guy that can win a job is one of these safeties or corners in free agency, or even one of the defensive tackles like a T.R. Tart or B.J. Hill. So I think that's where that money should go. And I'd rather draft a young wide receiver who separates down the field. So that's just me. I don't know about you. But
Yeah, no, I see it, and I understand. That's why I'm not saying, oh, we have to get Marquise Brown under no circumstances can we not have him. I'm just saying if I get a notification, Marquise Brown of the Bills 1 year $8 million, I'll be like, all right, I like that move, just because I think that we can then focus our entire draft on defense, draft 3 secondary pieces, draft 3 defensive ends, draft 3 defensive tackles, maybe 1 less defensive lineman, and maybe a linebacker or maybe another secondary piece. Just draft a bunch of defensive players, and you just hope a couple of them pan out.
yeah,
If we go 2 for 9 on drafting defensive players, but those 2 guys end up being very good players, then I'm happy. We just need more difference makers on the defensive side of the ball. And then next year or the year after that, we can then draft a speed guy of the future, because Marquise Brown's obviously a good speed guy for right now. We can get a
yeah,
speed guy of the future. But I can also get on board with your point. I'm just saying I don't hate it. I like it, and I see the value there.
absolutely. Well, I guess we'll get to figure that all out right now. What, you want to start the mock draft?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Alrighty.
I wonder.
So let's.
Wonder some of the. I can't wait to see some of these picks that happen. I remember the one time I was doing it, and the Louisville quarterback, I forgot his name, got drafted by the Giants at pick 3. Matthew Golden just won in the first half.
Yep. See, this is a very interesting simulator. We'll try to be as realistic as possible. I think that's important.
No.
Yes.
Wait. I just wanted to see that one before.
Oh,
the Ravens one, where they offer us like 10 picks. Oh my god. I wish I could see that one. That's not realistic at all. But
we're gonna look back at the recording.
Yeah.
Edge is Sawyer Azaraku.
Ew.
So
all right, no, not Edge. Not Edge. We're gonna pass on Edge.
I feel that it's much about all the edge. Let's look at linebacker. It is Jahad Campbell. If it was Jalen Walker, I would be interested. I like Campbell.
I think Jalen Walker went like top 15. I think I remember seeing.
He's probably going to as well. Let's look at safety. Okay, this is a conversation I'm willing to have.
Go to corner first. Let's see corner. Go back to D-line. All right, I see the conversation. I think the conversation right now would be between 3 guys.
My is Darius Alexander.
I would say Tyreek Williams, Siobhan Revel, and Emin-Wari. I'd probably not go Revel just because injury concerns, the torn ACL. So I think
I'm between Alexander, and I think Alexander is criminally underrated. 6'2", 310 pounds, maybe a little bit lighter, but he's.
What is Tyreek Williams' size? I'm pretty sure he's pretty big.
He's bigger than him. Tyreek Williams is a lot more like 320. But the thing is,
Alexander's
get off is better. He's got better get off. He's got more bursts off the ball. He also takes some as well.
My thing is we already do have a D tackle with very good burst and get off and Eddie. So I would want someone more, the bigger guy that can take on the double teams. But I'm not saying Alexander can't, but just kind of the bigger guy that eats up more space. So for me, it's between Tyreek and Emin-Wari. But I guess I think there's one guy that we can agree on that are in our top 2 in this position, and it would be Nick Emin-Wari.
He's my number 1 safety now.
It would kind of be annoying, really.
Yeah.
He's ahead of Malachi Starks on your board.
I've moved him up. Yeah.
Wow. My thing is, if we draft Emin-Wari, I doubt he starts year 1, and that would just be a tough pill to swallow, wasting our first round pick on. Wait. Oh, that would have been. I would have accepted that trade if they offered us.
We're not doing trades.
Okay, I was gonna say we got a 3rd or 4th and a next year 2nd and 5th. Like I would have done that in a heartbeat, but.
This pick's interesting.
Oh, your guy.
It's so unrealistic.
Let's see. Yeah, and Jordan Phillips.
Where is He's actually good too. That's the thing.
Ursary at pick.
How come Alfred Collins never makes it here? I never understand. I like Alfred Collins. Okay, so there's Darius Alexander, which just seems like the pick. Where's Azariah Thomas? I'm guessing he already went.
Azariah Thomas went before us in the first round. He went pick 27 or something. Go to wide receiver.
Trey Harris, Bond, Higgins. Oh, hi, Ty Felton.
Was Royals there?
I was gone. I'm heartbroken. It's truly sad.
Yes.
Harris beats man coverage. That is kind of where I'm at. But like,
My
I'm not going
thought
to take
is,
Harris over Alexander. So
yeah, I was gonna say
or
Alexander's there. I think you hope Harris falls to 62.
I'm with you. Yeah, let's do it.
Yep. I like that.
What are these trades?
I don't know, but they're giving us like the king's ransom. All right, let's go. Wide receiver. It's easy.
Okay,
Yep.
but I would like
Easy.
to real quick look at corner. Make sure we're not. No, I do see some guys on the board.
Yeah, some guys I like, but I think those guys I like will be there at 108.
Yeah, and we'll quickly look at edge, and I don't like Landon Jackson.
Yeah, no, that.
Braden Swenson's rising up boards finally. That's very cool. I'm with you. Trey Harris it is.
Yeah.
He beats man. It's that simple. If he can beat man.
Well, good thing he doesn't beat woman.
All right, that's a technical. We're teeing him up.
Come on.
It was. I'll give you a 3 out of 10.
Oh, come on. I think that's a solid at least 8.
Solid 8. I can't do it.
That's unfortunate.
We're not picking Darian Porter here because he's an early
it's fine.
second round guy. It's I can't justify it in my brain.
I do
see I see him down there.
But we're going more like into man coverage.
Corner.
So I think corner we wouldn't draft a Tommy Hill just because if we look at the end of last year, it looks like the team is wanting to run more man, which isn't a lot of man. But I think we're gonna want someone who can do both.
He's sticking out
who's stronger at zone but can do both, and I just don't see Tommy Hill being good enough at man. Josiah Stewart,
like a sore thumb.
Yeah. No, I like that. That Michigan D line was dirty this year. I definitely agree with just adding
somebody from their defensive line.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely.
Where's our next pick? Tommy Hill. All right, I have somebody that I've been really watching a lot of lately, and I've become a big fan. He's very sticky man coverage.
Can he play
Jabbar
zone?
Muhammad. Jabbar Muhammad's zone is not great, so maybe I won't take him here.
Yeah, I was gonna say do you think we draft another guy who can't play zone after the Kyrie Elam disaster?
I think Jabbar can play enough. He has really good instincts though. So like I don't know, like I trust the instincts almost.
Let's see what is at linebacker just like
Chris Paul.
Rajon Rondo.
Well, I knew it was gonna happen. I'm a big Jay Higgins fan. I mean, he's light. He's like 227, I believe. But the coverage instincts are wonderful.
He's saying that. I mean, that's a McDermott.
I see enough down the board though. I see enough down the board.
I just want to see if
I like Jack Kaiser too.
Yeah, I was gonna see if anyone stuck out. I mean, obviously we already have our linebackers kind of.
I'm gonna go with. I'm leaning towards
Anus.
Yeah, he's so good.
And his name's amazing.
It's Anais, but I'll let you have it. There, you can have it. There's a few places we could go here. You can go and double dip at edge, which is interesting. I'm a big fan of Antoine Powell Ryland. Excuse me.
My thought on even if we cut Vaughn, we already have Rousseau, Epinesa, draft a guy, Solomon.
Me and our guy. Probably that.
Smoot. I like Smoot. I think he's a good run defender. I think he's a perfect fifth guy.
You can tell me that. That's fine. I still think we'll draft another one. But do you want to go?
Yeah, draft. But I think if we draft another guy, it'd be like, yeah, I think at this point you got to get a corner just so we have. I understand not drafting for need, but this position they're all kind of even. There's a lot of good guys at each. So I'm good with Muhammad if you are.
So my whole talking point with Muhammad too is he's small. Like I recognize a lot of the corners that get this far are small corners. But the thing is, you can always bulk up frame.
Yeah.
The instincts are outstanding. And
he
can play man.
And clearly the Bills have an offseason focus of bulking guys up. So
Yeah, I can get on board with. There's no way to offer this. These trades are insane.
yeah, I know.
Okay.
Maybe we should try PFN next time. See if there's any better.
Yeah. He sticks out to me. Tyler Barron does. Billy Bowman. There's no way you can take another safety. That's how I view it.
Really? Who's going to be our fourth safety?
You still have Cam Lewis there. I don't feel like spending. I know. Just
I don't like Cam Lewis though. I remember traveling all the. I remember spending $1,000 to travel down to Houston to watch Cam Lewis try and cover Stephon Diggs in the slot, and it was one of the most excruciating things I've ever watched.
There's a lot of safety options here, so for at least this pick, we'll pass on one.
Yeah. Maybe another big guy.
Say the name.
Anus.
All right. Well, I'll let you have it. Yep. We'll go with him.
Yeah.
And all the safeties made it. So Malachi Moore is more your rangy, high IQ safety. I think he fits what the Bills want to do.
Yeah. Because really, any safety we're drafting now is, especially if we with Emin Worry, is most likely just going to be a depth guy, kind of one that could probably, I would say, whoever's the most versatile safety out of this bunch is the one I'd want. Because we're drafting basically a backup. So we need someone who can play both strong and free safety. Someone who, no matter what injury, we can kind of just stick in.
I mean, if you're looking more versatile, I'd almost say it's a little bit more. I trust Hunter Wooler to fill that role. But I'm on board with Malachi Moore. I think he's the best safety left.
Okay. That works. I'm thinking here is when we get that developmental guard.
Yeah, so there's Luke Condra. I like Jackson Slater a lot. He really stuck out at the Senior Bowl. You can sell me on that. Jackson Slater. Jake Majors is Connor Colby. You've been a fan of him for a while.
Well, Iowa linemen pan out a lot. Iowa tight ends pan out a lot because that's what Iowa football is. So yeah, I mean, I just feel like and obviously McDermott loves Iowa style guys. I mean,
Iowa style, well put.
Like you know you know exactly what I mean. Yeah. The high character, gritty guys who give a lot of effort. That's an Iowa football, because it's not like Iowa's ever the most talented football team, but they pride themselves on a run game and defense and effort and grit, and that's high character, and that's exactly what Sean McDermott is.
He won't make it here, but I'm going to take Tyler Barron. I'm just going to take the decision out of your hands entirely. That would be the all-time value. So the Bills have picked, for reference, Emin Worry, Alexander, Trey Harris, Josiah Stewart, Jabbar Muhammad. Say his name.
Anus.
Sure. Peebles, Malachi Moore, Connor Colby, and Tyler Barron. They have one more pick left.
So we drafted 2 edge, 2 D linemen, 2 safeties.
A corner.
Maybe another corner.
I'm probably just look at all players and see who's left.
Do we draft a running back for, like, in case Cook leaves, or do we not really want to entertain that thought right now?
I wouldn't entertain it, and also I like Jarquez Hunter, but he's really just more of a Ty Johnson replacement kind of guy.
I mean, and Jordan James could be decent. I mean, Oregon running backs have some decent value in the league, but
he will. I like Jamari Harris a lot. He has a lot of zone experience in Iowa. Plays a little bit of man. He's a little bit of a leaner frame, but the movement skills are there, better than a lot of people give him credit for. I would be on board with Jamari Harris's depth piece. I don't think he'll fall this low, but I'm just going to take him here.
Yeah, no, that works. Now we basically got 2 of all of our positions, and then we got a wide receiver we needed and a developmental guy.
And like I said, I'm not a huge Trey Harris guy, but he beats man coverage.
Yeah. And also Jalen Royals is gone, and that's kind of the guy we both really, really like.
Yeah. There's the other argument where I'm blanking on his name right now. Trey Johnson.
Tez Johnson, you mean?
Tez Johnson. Excuse me. Thank you.
Isn't he like super small though?
He's very skinny. He was sub 160 at the Senior Bowl.
I'll pass.
I will also pass, but I also have to admit the dude is fast and the dude separates. Let me see if I can get a better. Why is this the only players I can see?
Hit save, maybe hit save and see what goes to that when you hit save.
I appreciate it if it's save the report. There we go. So we're gonna start off with. Let's talk about these position groups after this mock draft. So you're gonna have at the safety position, you're going to have Taylor Rapp, Cole Bishop, Nick Imanwari, and Malachi Moore. That is a really promising safety room with a bunch of young talent. What do you
Yeah.
think about this safety room?
And then I really like it. You have a bunch of young talent, and then you have that one veteran guy. It will be a little bit of a tough pill to swallow. If because I doubt Emanwari starts day one, because obviously you're going to want to give Bishop that chance, and then I just don't see Rapp not starting. I don't see us starting two young guys having both their first year starting there. So that would be kind of annoying. Being like, oh, we just drafted a guy with a pick 30. And I don't know how much that would help us win the Super Bowl next year, but who knows if we even have that pick. And this is also just the way the board fell. Kind of the guys we both really want were both gone. Matthew Golden, Kenneth Grant, Tyleek, or not Tyleek Williams, Jalen Walker, Walter Nolan. These are all guys that we really, really like and would kind of rather have at that pick. But if this is the way it's fall, best player available. And I think out of our needs, obviously, like maybe he wasn't the number one
Within
player
reason.
on the board.
Yeah.
Yes, it's where obviously if the best player on the board was a tackle or quarterback, which would rarely ever happens because of their value, we wouldn't make no sense to take them. Or even kind of a line like an off-ball linebacker like the Jihad Campbell. That doesn't really make much sense either. But within our 5 core needs, wide receiver, D-line, defensive end, cornerback, safety, Emanwari was probably the best player on the board, so
Agreed.
I like the pick.
Your defensive interior starts to look a little bit different and improved. This is obviously not counting for agency. You would have an Oliver, Darius Alexander, who will not make pick 56, but
Yeah.
for exercise purposes, we're good. Daquan Jones, Dwayne Carter. That's a really good room. And I almost forgot about
Anus Peebles.
Wonderful.
Yes.
He'll get his respect once he gets 5 sacks here on the
Oh,
Bills. We will appreciate him.
also, my thing is, yeah, maybe Darius Alexander doesn't get to pick 56, but I also don't see like us like not jumping someone for like a Walter Nolan or Kenneth Grant, and we're not doing trades in this, so it kind of evens out.
Fair enough. Pick 62, Trey Harris completes the wide receiver room in some regard. He doesn't have electric speed. I understand that. But he beats man press coverage. And that is something this wide receiver room just does not have. And he has long strides. He does separate down the field enough where a Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Trey Harris, Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins group of wide receivers makes you feel really good this season. And then you go to the edge room, which I think actually got the best value here.
You
Adding
also don't
Josiah
need
Stewart.
elite speed to be a good deep threat. Like Antonio Brown, I'm not saying he's going to be Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown was a great deep threat. He didn't have elite speed. Just if you can track the ball, you could be 4-7 and be good down the field. Like if
Yeah.
you can track, that's really what's important is being able to get off man press and being able to track a ball. Those are the 2 most important things for downfield separation. And Trey Harris is good at both of them.
Also, just manipulating space between corners and safety.
Which, has a lot to do with being able to track the ball, being able to move your eyes. Like that A.J. Brown catch against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl where he like fake caught it and then dusted the safety and caught it actually. Like
beautiful.
Your ability to manipulate, because corners, they're a lot of times they're not looking at the ball. They're playing they're playing off your reactions because like it's pretty hard to be able to look at where your receiver is and where the ball is at the same time. They're playing your reactions, and then at the last second, they're kind of judging where the ball is. So if you're good at manipulating, where having quick hands and being able to track the ball well and being able to manipulate your eyes, things like this is what really helps you down the field versus just pure speed.
Absolutely. And so that wide receiver room looking good. Edge room is, I think, got the best value here. Tyler Barron, Josiah Stewart, AJ Epinesa, Greg Rousseau, and Javon Solomon. It's a lot of guys. Now, do they lack an alpha first edge guy? Yes. But there's more young talent there, and I think that's just extremely important to this point.
Yeah. I think you just have to hope that they develop, and then I think you still at some point down the line have to take a swing for a big guy. If unless Greg Rousseau develops, and you have to hope that if this is how it ends up, you're basically just hoping Rousseau takes that step. Because if not, you're gonna have to try and make it maybe at a trade deadline, make a swing for a guy, or you're gonna have to try and do something.
Absolutely.
Because if this is what our edge groom ends up with, and Greg Rousseau doesn't take a step, I'm still worried come playoff time.
Absolutely. Corner room is actually the room that I left feeling most nervous about after this mock, which would be
Yeah,
Christian Benford, Jabbar Muhammad, Jermani
Tarancha,
Harris, and Tron Johnson, and then anybody
Cam
else that you
Lewis,
end up keeping
like
around.
Cam Lewis, Jamarcus Ingram. I think that at that point is like you're kind of hoping that we signed a corner. I have a feeling that I think the cornerback room makes the most sense to sign a guy. Like,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
if we're gonna spend big anywhere in free agency, I think it's cornerback, just because this D line and safety class is deeper than this cornerback class. I think there's better value in later rounds out of those classes, out of those
Absolutely. Yeah.
position groups. So I think you kind of realize that and wide receiver, it's like we have other needs. So I think, and this is also a pretty decent like free agency class for corners. DJ Reach, Various Ward. Why am I blanking on the guy from the Saints? Paulson and Debo, Jonathan Jones. There's a lot. There's some value in this cornerback class, like free agency. So I think you could definitely swing big on a guy, and then I'd feel fine. But if we're not swinging big on a guy, and then yeah, I would feel after this mock, I definitely feel the most nervous out of edge and cornerback. Wide receiver offense, I feel great. I think offense, we'd have the best offense in the league next year if this is how if we end up with someone like Trey Harris, and then the young guys take a step. We don't lose James Cook. I think we have the best offense in the league next year because our offense faced single high coverage 60% of the time last year, and we were still able to run on teams, and we were still able to throw it underneath. Imagine if we have someone like Trey Harris who can stretch the field, how much that opens up the run game, how much that opens up the underneath game for Shakir to even having more yak. Like, I think that really takes our offense to the next level.
Plus, I think a big piece of this offense maintaining or becoming it was the second best in football, hopefully it becomes the best, would be Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid contributing in a larger capacity next season. I can't see neither of them making some sort of step forward. I can't see them getting worse or staying the same as this season. And I don't see anybody regressing.
If Keon doesn't hurt his wrist, I bet you he ends up with like 800 yards. I think Kincaid probably ends up close to that if he doesn't get injured too, because he was playing great against the Colts before he got injured. Obviously, that was one of Josh's bad games, but he was having a really good game then. And then when he came back from the injury, just wasn't really the same. So I think obviously they need to be able to develop where they can play on injuries better than they did. But if they stay healthy, they both probably have 700-800 yards last year, which is definitely a stepping stone.
Stepping stone's a perfect way of putting it. And the last pick that we're going to talk about is the Connor Colby pick, another developmental offensive lineman, because I'll be frank, David Edwards is going to be a free agent after the 2025 season, and you can't pay him, I don't think, personally, just after, because you're going to extend Connor McGovern, you're going to be paying also your two franchise tackles in Dawkins and Brown. You're not going to be able to play Torrance either, so continuing to develop interior offensive linemen, I think, is key.
You're right. We're probably not going to be able to. And I love Torrance, so that sucks.
I love Torrance too.
But yeah, just cap wise, yeah.
Cap wise, they've become more expensive. Last offseason, they were paying a lot for offensive interior guys. You're already paying two tackles. You're going to hopefully McGovern's the best of the three. Let's be very clear here.
Yeah.
So continuing to draft and put a stash interior offensive linemen until their time comes, I think is an important stepping stone for this offense. Well, that's going to wrap up the video. We're thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys later in the week. Peace.